on this computer. All right, we're recording, but we're not live yet. It's gonna take me like 5 seconds to go live. Thanks everybody for being here, by the way. You guys are awesome. All right, we are live. It is Thursday night, and we are here with the wonderful Keisha Nolan. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We are so excited about this talk tonight, guys. It's going to be super laid back. Anybody's welcome to turn on their cameras and ask questions. Everybody on Facebook, the same thing. I'm going to be checking you guys out on my phone. So if you have any questions, please just let us know. Angela is going to start by introducing our speaker.
Yay, welcome Keisha to Airway Circle. Keisha Nolan is the owner of Mastering Myo and Nolan Speech and Language Center, NSLC. NSLC Center is part of a unique interdisciplinary office where office space is shared with a chiropractor who holds a diplomate, excuse me, I don't even have my Invisalign in tonight. Diplomat, oh my God, what's wrong with me? In pediatric chiropractic and a medical doctor who specializes in women's health and offers craniosacral therapy. These professionals allow for a team approach to therapy when necessary. Mastering Myo allows Keisha to educate dentists, orthodontists, and pediatricians about orofacial myofunctional disorders during speaking engagements at their offices and at hospital in-services. She is also a Certified Orofacial Myologist, COM, and an instructor of the IAOM's approved introductory course, Orofacial Myofunctional Disorders A-Z. In addition, Keisha is an adjunct professor at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Dentistry Orthodontic Department, where she teaches first-year orthodontic students about orofacial myofunctional disorders. Keisha was also my instructor for the IAOM course, and my apologies for butchering some words. Keisha, the floor is all yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, everyone.
Of course. Sorry, it was my fault, Angela. I put you on the spot. You were not expecting that. So our topic tonight is building a multidisciplinary practice, the ins and outs, and how it led to amazing mentors. First, we would like to just know from you, Keisha, your story. What is your story? What got you here to this point?
It's an interesting story. So basically what happened was I just started seeking help for myself. You know, we always go down this journey either for yourself or from a family member, right? Isn't this how this rabbit hole starts, right? So I was seeking chiropractic care, and I just got to know the chiropractor very well. I liked his style, I guess you can say. I like that he's practiced functional medicine. I like that he was a pediatric diplomate, and it really just resonated with me in regards to the caseload that I had. At the time, I was actually in a public service. I was in the public school, so I was working as a speech pathologist within the schools, but I was just really looking for something new. And he just kept saying, hey, you know, if you ever want space here, I'd be happy to rent you a room. And I, you know, oh, that sounds like fun. Maybe in my, maybe in retirement, that'll be something fun I can try to do. So one day I left a meeting at the school, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to take him up on his offer. So I called my husband and I said, I'm going all in. Are you going to support me? And he's like, of course, do it. You've been planning this forever. Why are we waiting? And I said, yeah, why are we waiting? So I had my husband and I met with him, and we worked it out. And I started in a 10 by 10 room where all my things were, you know, I took my own phone calls. I was my own accountant. I was the everything, you know, like many of us start in the practice. And then, you know, it was slow. So I worked my full-time job, and then I'd go thereafter, and it was a little bit slow. So I got to observe him and really learn from him. So not only with my own family, but as he interacted with other children who had special needs. So about within 1 year of that, I was like, I love this team approach. This is really exciting. And I had a mom from the school system reach out to me and say, hey, do you know my child has a tongue thrust? And he'd already been discharged from therapy. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we were addressing. And that's what we were working on with Maddie, you know. And she was just fun loving mom, just really fun. And I said to her about what's going on. She said, well, I took him to the dentist, and hey, they won't put braces on him because he has a tongue thrust. I'm like, really, that's interesting. So I just started digging in, learning more, and I contacted the woman who was going to be doing his therapy, and she allowed me to come out there and observe, and she became an amazing mentor of mine. And yeah, so that's how I got into this whole area of orofacial myofunctional disorders. So I brought it back to my partner, Don, and I'm just like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, it makes sense. And, you know, the way the body works and everything. And he's like, you know, I'd go for it. So I signed up and took an introductory course. And from there, we just team every week to figure out how we're going to integrate our services together. So we have this shared space. Then we brought on, like I said, another doctor. He's actually an OBGYN MD, but he specializes in women's health, and he's very, he does a lot of alternative therapy. So he does FSM and different things like that, but he also has a PT trained craniosacral therapist and an OT trained craniosacral therapist.
Can I go work there with you guys?
I know.
Your room.
I know. So it's just so amazing. And then he hired a nutritionist, and he himself is a diplomate pediatric chiropractor, like I told you, but he also does a lot of functional medicine stuff. So,
wow,
you know, we can do a lot of that. We have a couple of massage therapists with us. So yeah, we just keep adding to the staff as
that is absolutely amazing. Actually, I do want to take up the opportunity here to tell everybody about March 29th that we're going to be doing a talk at the AAPMD. It's the talk with the liaisons, and it's going to be all about this, all about collaborating with the Breathe Institute and the AAPMD. I know some of you guys have already signed up. If you haven't, it's in the link tree for our Instagram. But yes, it's all about this, how you build your team. So let's say I'm a newer clinician and I'm looking and seeking for a mentor. How can you determine who is credible? What should I be looking for?
Right. Well, a lot of mentoring is offered through the IAOM, which, you know, of course, I love that organization. That's who I teach for. And then just finding someone in your area, I really suggest as well. So a couple of the things that I did early on is I had a local mentor myself, but she had a study group, which really was great because it was in all of Michigan. I'm from Michigan, by the way. And we would meet it was like 3 or 4 months, and we'd find a central location. So we were all driving quite a distance, and we'd just borrow space at a library or something like that. And we'd bring cases and discuss them. So I got to meet, you know, some really great clinicians early on, which was very helpful in my career. And people I could trust and learn from, basically, and gain their knowledge. And they were really encouraging and supportive to me as well. So I could bring cases. It felt like a safe place to go. And I really appreciated that. So I myself am a mentor, and really try to do that for, the people who have taken my course. And then of course, through my private Facebook group for those that have taken the course. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's just really super important. Mentoring doesn't just support growth, but it also is just an excellent source of knowledge. It also helps you achieve your goals and helps you stay accountable to those. I know it's, we all write goals, right? Every year, I'm sure many of us do. We're goal-oriented people, but sometimes staying accountable to them can be really hard when it gets your life gets hectic. So even now, I have mentors that help me stay accountable to not only my business goals, but my personal goals as well. So
that is so funny that you're doing this. I was just telling the girls that I had a meeting with Sammy today. Sammy is somebody who's helped us with Airway Circle from the beginning. And he's actually helping me put my goals together. Yeah. So,
I do it with my own team here. We do, we set goals at the beginning of the year. They meet with me, we meet every Tuesday for mentoring for my personal staff. And then, we just hold each other accountable and help each other reach our goals. So
we're doing that with Airway Circle. As soon as I'm done figuring out how to do mine, I will make sure that we do it with the girls too, because I keep telling them that, me as the founder of Airway Circle, I would never be successful or be happy if the girls around me were not growing. And
absolutely.
So good. And it is insane. I mean, these girls that are with me are freaking amazing. They work so hard and they're so passionate about what they are doing. But it is incredible that since we all kind of, started working together, it just got to a point there that the synergy and the frequency, everything was just working so well, and everybody is exploding. Like Do you want to tell what's going on with you, Angela? What do you have coming up?
Yeah.
I was, so my sleepy little town here, I work at one clinical office. I work clinical hygiene 1 day a week, but then I will temp pretty much only in one other office around here. And so little by little, I've just been educating the dentist, and I have one dentist who I temp for. And when he comes in for the exam, I will show him the Eiffel Tower tongue tie and how, when they elevate the tongue tip, the shape of the heart, can they move? Can they, high, narrow palate, all of the clinical signs, scalloped border of tongue.
Mhm.
So little by little, this airway focused dentist now, he practices with his dad. Well, the two of them are a part of the area dental study group. And an orthodontist reached out to me, and this orthodontist and I had a meeting, and I just threw out a PowerPoint to her about myofunctional therapy. And being a hygienist, I just feel like it's super important that we are one of the first lines of defense. And it is so important that each and every one of us in the dental field is educated on what to look for and who to refer to and what can be done. And so the orthodontist contacted him and said, well, what are you waiting for? Get her in here. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to present to a group of about 15 to 20 dentists about what orofacial myofunctional disorders are and what to do next. So little by little, I just actually spoke to an ENT over at the University of Virginia today. And it's just a lot of just reaching out, and that takes a lot of time, and it really takes a lot of courage. And the first time that you actually speak to a medical professional, it can be intimidating because you know their education, you know what they went through, and you know what you went through as well. So you just have to kind of sit on your soapbox and say, I know what I'm talking about, and I want you to listen, and we can collaborate together. And it's very, it takes practice. It definitely takes practice. So I feel like with Airway Circle, what Renata was talking about just a moment ago is the whole collaboration and the group of the board members here. We really have a great study club between our little group, and we just, hey, look what came in today. What do you think? Where should we go? I need an SLP in this place. Or what do you think? I need an OT opinion. And so, man, do we just chime in, right, Renata? And
yes. And it's so good because we have an occupational therapist, we have a speech pathologist, we have some hygienists, and everybody has taken different courses. So everybody's going to look at this patient differently. But for you guys that are listening, it's so important for you to find your tribe. Airway Circle is here to help you guys, and then locally, we're going to be able to find your group, find the girls, not only the girls, but the professionals that you can collaborate and get together. But whenever you find that frequency and that synergy, amazing things happen that you can't really explain. But we do have a question from Dr. Hernandez. She said, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I am a pediatric dentist and functional medicine practitioner, now on my airway journey for the past 2 years. I am signed up for IAOM course this June with our hygienist. Yay, that's amazing. So excited. The question has come up about hygiene starting their own myofunctional therapy practices. What are the ASHA guidelines for myofunctional therapy in terms of private practice? I understand that they are gray areas. Please, would you clarify? Thank you. So yes, hygiene and SLP different, but go ahead.
Yeah, so they are pretty different. So in terms of hygiene during their practices, that's very specific, it's my understanding, to the state laws and rules. So here in Michigan, that's something that's allowed, but I know having other people in the courses, I know that is not something that's allowed. And maybe, Renata or Angela could speak more to the hygiene piece of it. But ASHA is strictly for speech and language pathologists, and they are able to practice myofunctional therapy under their scope of speech and language pathology.
Yes. And I think I've said this before here, and I'll explain again. When a speech pathologist goes to school for speech and they take their boards, for example, they're sitting down in this room using the stools, doing this therapy. When they do myofunctional therapy, they're still sitting in the same room using similar tools. And you know what I mean? Nothing really changes. So for dental hygienists, whenever we take our boards to get our license for dental hygiene, we are in an operatory wearing totally, I mean, covered up in, you know, totally different clothes, and we have totally different tools. And they are allowing us to get a license to be able to clean teeth because we're going underneath the gums. It's the whole thing, you know. Assistants don't really need to go through what we have to go through because they're not going under the gums. That's the whole thing. We're inside the mouth. So for us, it's a little bit different. Our license is so we can practice dental hygiene in the dental office with the dentist with us. Myofunctional therapy, it is a whole different ball game, but we do recommend, if she's totally okay working with you, having you there. What I do recommend is having different days. Don't ever have her come in one day, do hygiene and myofunctional therapy at the same time. Have one day only for myofunctional therapy. Literally, she clocks out, clocks in as a totally different person. Pretty much, you know, I feel like being a dental hygienist, it allows you to go into myofunctional therapy, not because of your license per se, but because of your education, all your prerequisites and everything that you've studied so far with the head and neck anatomy and microbiology and whatever else that we have to go through to study to study dental hygiene. I feel like that's what opens the doors for myofunctional therapy. Our whole experience of being in the mouth every single day, seeing tongues and lifting things and moving. And, you know, we see these patients, and it's funny because as a hygienist, like, oh my gosh, I had a patient today. Every time you try to clean these teeth, they just keep pulling. The strong lips and the strong tongues and the patients that are gaggers. And now that we are myofunctional therapy, we're like, every single one of those patients was an airway patient. How did I not know this? They're all myofunctional patients. Right. So yes, it's so amazing that you are encouraging your dental hygienist to do this with you. And yes, she can work in the practice with you. I would just recommend doing separate days if you want to keep her under you, or not if you should like to have her own practice and be a 1099, and she can like rent a room, whatever you guys would like to. There's options out there that you can look at. But yes, it's a question that we get often. Yeah. Let's see another question from our list over here. What can the airway community do to provide more mentorship opportunities?
So here in Michigan, I got very, very fortunate in that a group of local dentists created what they call the Airway Symposium. And so I had the pleasure of attending that probably 3 to 4 years pre-COVID, they did it. And I learned from some of the best. Wow. Jeff Rouse, I mean, Ted Belfour, they brought in Kevin Boyd was there. There's some really great speakers year after year so that I could build that. And that's where I began to network. So within those settings, you know, they would invite me to come as part of their group, and then that allowed me to meet a lot of people. So that's how I met the periodontist that I do chairside functional frenuloplasties with. I talked to her at a break and I said, this is who I am and I understand what you do. Would you ever be interested in doing, I called it the Zagi approach, and have you heard of that before? And I see, such a need for that here in our area. And she said, well, yeah, I think I would be interested in that. Let's have we met for coffee. Let's meet for coffee and talk about it a little bit more. And I've been doing that for years now. And same way with everything else. The craniosacral therapist, all of those that are here in our office, I just go out and get the work done myself. Of course, I didn't go out and get a frenectomy, of course. She was a good frenectomy provider, but I did work under her. But yeah, I go out and I talk about who I am and how, maybe they could help me. And then that sparks that interest about how they can help them. I mean, that's what I did with the ENT that I met for my peds ENT. But you're right, Angela, it takes a lot of courage, and it takes your tribe just to lift you up and say, you've got this, and they're trusted allies. So when you get these people in your group, they're, in your group there, they're amazing, and you're just unstoppable at that point. So I just encourage everyone to find a great mentor or a group of people, and it takes you being the one to reach out. It does. These people haven't necessarily reached out to me, but the more you do it, the more confident you get with it. And my first two dentists that I met with, that conversation was a very pleasurable conversation, but those didn't become my people. right? Because I was new at it. I probably didn't sell myself the way I should have, or I didn't tell the knowledge that I had because I was a little bit nervous. Like Angela said, sometimes it can be intimidating talking to them about their area of expertise in how you can help them. You know, it can get a little intimidating at times, but the more you do it, the more you practice, like I said, the better you get. And I just, yeah, it's great.
One of the first orthodontists that I went to talk to, he called the office that I worked at and he said, Renata, I want you to come see me. And I was like, oh, super excited, you know, it was right in the beginning. So I went to see him and he pretty much said, why do you want? And I was like, you know, I had one of those moments that I'm like, because like, do you not know all the stuff that I know? Like, how do you not know this? But he said, Renata, I've been doing this for 20 years. I can expand kids when they're 14, 16. They're fine. I get great results. You know, and it's very tough to be in that position, and everybody should be ready, you know, with an answer. Not like I was. I had research with me and everything, but it kind of threw me back because he called me, he invited me. So I was like, oh, he's going to be great. And I said, you know, I need to get expansion. And he's like, why? Why do you need expansion? Why would you do that? You know, I'm like, I'm a 31. Like, what do you mean? What is your number?
Right. Yeah.
What is your molar to molar?
Necklaces.
Put that in a dating app. What is your molar to molar?
I'm thinking we're going to put it on our t-shirts.
I was just going to say that on the back. Yeah, on the back of your t-shirt. You can put the
I only date if you're an over 36 millimeter. Molar to molar.
That's great.
Oh my gosh, it's so silly. I'm kidding. But let's see. Should mentorship opportunities be on a fee-for-service basis only? Somebody recently, I think it was Dr. Tara Urson, that was mentioning something about something that she created on Facebook this week, and that it was so hard that people, you know, were reaching out to her to try to get some information, but we all are so busy, you know, we're moms, we have families, children, and businesses, and it takes so much. So we want to help as much as we do, but it's difficult. So what do you think? Should we charge, and how?
Yeah, I know I struggled with that myself. I do have a mentorship that I do. It's a paid mentorship that I do offer as well. And again, and we're not exactly, the more people started reaching out to me and the more hours, I mean, this was 10 to 15 hours plus I was spending in emails, you know, a week, plus my private practice and everything else, the teaching experience, you know, things that I do as well. So it got to a point where it's like, yeah, this is a lot. And, you know, but I do offer, I mean, people email me all the time, and I do offer some fee free because I do want to give back and grow the community. But it's a tough spot for me too. It's a ton of time, like you were saying. So, and I want to give all the knowledge I have and
I know
I can, but like you said,
and there are a ton of free things out there that you can learn from. You know, Area Circle has like 70, I think, talks and audios and videos that you guys can listen to the whole thing, and you know, then call somebody and ask questions. Don't call somebody right away with, you know, all of these questions if you have zero information. Try to find a little bit by yourself first before you reach out, because there's so much information out there that you can get the answers for yourself. And you know, be prepared for that call whenever you choose somebody to call. Kind of be prepared and ready with some concrete information that you need to.
I like to think about it like, what are you actually looking for in a mentor? Are you looking for the trusted ally? Are you looking for the person who can talk and guide and help you grow? So, you know, almost like a business coach, as you might say, but not business type stuff like, you know, this is how you make $100,000, but this is how you build connections to build referrals. This is how you do this. And then maybe a time after, you know, like, well, how to talk about a case or help you review a report when you're first getting started, those types of things. I do offer free mentorships through the people who take my course through IAOM. I have a private Facebook group, and people can be active as much as they want in there. And I'll answer questions, of course, through that. But I do love it. Teaching is one of my passions. So I do love teaching others, and I am willing to, you know, do a few emails back and forth about cases or whatnot. But Yeah.
As we're talking, I just got a message. Hi there. My name is Dada. I'm a dental hygienist. And I'm looking for it. Exactly. Looking for help. Yes. We get these messages all the time, every day. I try as hard as I can to answer them fast, and sometimes like I'm afraid that I sound like I'm being rude, but it's literally because I have seconds and I just answer like short words, that's a little bit of information.
Yeah.
Because we're so busy. I'm gonna let Angela ask the next question, but Jamie Genson, I think, is here. Hi, Keisha. So happy to hear you speak.
Oh, hey, Jamie.
Let's see. Sherry Klein, with mentoring, is anyone willing to share their PowerPoint presentation for us newbies to use? Yes, Area Circle is putting together PowerPoints for you guys. I actually just talked to Veronica today, and we're going to do that. Veronica just said we'll be speaking for the first time next month to a group of doctors wanting to know more about Myo, and we'll take any and all encouragement. That is amazing. You're going to do fantastic.
You are.
Kendra said, hi, Angela. I'm an SLP in Virginia near Richmond.
Oh my gosh, excellent.
Look at that. See?
Yeah.
Join Area Circle. You guys will just find each other
right now. Yeah. Have her reach out to me. I'd love to connect.
Yes. How can I find more about the work you do? Angela, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, well, Keisha, we're all wondering about your Mastering Myo course. So can you tell us a bit about it, please?
Yeah, so Mastering Myo is basically just, another brand that I have that I teach my IAOM approved course through. So it is a 30-hour course where we have 10 hours of pre-recorded modules where you're learning more of the science and that type of thing. And then it's a 3-day, 20-hour live Zoom course that we do. And those 3 days are all evaluation and treatment. So it's very hands-on. It's very interactive. So we're constantly talking now. So it's just a revamped. So it's more of a blended course.
And is it more for SLPs? Is it for,
it's for absolutely everyone. Yeah, it's an intro course. So if you're interested in getting, on the certification track, so we have dentist, hygienist, and speech pathologist to take the course. Yeah. Yeah, Angela took our course. Yeah, she's a hygienist.
That was down in South Carolina with Christine Mills.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And, I still keep in touch with about 3 or 4 of the ladies who took the course too.
And this is what I mean by that tribe, somebody to encourage you, start where you started, help you understand that. And the other thing I was going to mention too that I did, and I want to do this again because it was so fun. We did a book study. I did a study group and we did it over Zoom so that the providers throughout Michigan or even outside of our state could do this. And we picked a book and I led it, of course. And then we would get on every other week, and it was dentist and then speech pathologist. I don't remember putting any hygiene on there, but we had so much fun. We got a glass of wine, and it was later in the evening, and we just talked about the book and how we could, a lot of times with dentists and hygienists, or especially the dentists that I in-service a lot, they'll be like, how do I explain this to a patient when I'm only with this patient for this X amount of time? What are my selling points? Help me with my elevator speech. Help me help them understand how important this is, that type of thing. So
would you give us some tips right now for elevator speech?
Yeah, I can try for sure. Yeah. So typically what I hear a lot is from hygiene is that, I haven't really gotten an increase in the amount of time I get to spend with a patient when it comes to a cleaning, but I'm expected to do a nice screener. And the IAOM, I don't know if you've seen it, has a downloadable screener for dentists, and it's awesome. So I do highly recommend that you download that. It's on their website. It's wonderful. And it's really a great way to do it. But what I always say is it starts with education, and they trust you because they see you every 6 months, and they trust you more than they trust their GP, because a lot of people that scares them to go to the doctor. So they may not go on a regular basis, but people typically will go, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in our area here, people will typically go and get their cleaning. And really, where does health start? It's in your mouth. And so that's kind of, this is where your well-being starts. It's here in your mouth. And I'm noting X, Y, and Z. Have you ever heard about these things? And you leave it open-ended, and you leave them wanting to know more, a little bit more about the why. And sometimes it may not be that you're selling that right now today, but you're sparking interest. And just like anything else, it resonates in their minds, and then they start to next appointment, tell me more about that, or tell me more about, have you done any more research about this? And I always suggest handouts that they can read, those types of things as well. So not inundating them with information, but spiking their interest with it. Create that wow factor, and then like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I do have some problems with that. Oh, well, why don't you think about this? Sending him home with a book to read feels a little bit overwhelming, but sending him home with a little bit of information about how you can make life better for them is a little more palatable.
And talking about that, we do have our flyers. That is great little bits of information that we have put together on a circle that you guys can get on our website. We have sleep disorder breathing, separate kids and adults, mouth breathing, myofunctional therapy, oral habits, oral ties. This is all research based. We have the references on the bottom of all of them. So if you guys don't have the material, you're welcome to just get an Airway Circle. And what I do now, I just grab my card, because of course this is Airway Circle. It doesn't have my business information here. So I just grab my card and I put it right here and I staple it.
Right.
So my card with my information is right in the front, and he has awesome pictures. It's easy to read. So this is a great resource for you guys.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It stimulates interest and in like, I'm going to learn a little bit more about that. And they may only read that pamphlet and that's it until their next visit. But when you come back, now they have some background knowledge. Now they've heard it from another family member. Like, I went to the dentist today and they mentioned this to me. Has your dentist ever said that? My mom just had that experience at the eye doctor. She went to the eye doctor that I go to, and she said, I've never had an eye doctor ask me, do I wear sunglasses? It's such an important question. And then we have sun damage, and it made me think of our own profession. When you all say those things, chairside people are probably like, I've never had a dentist or a hygienist say those things to me before, right? So it stimulates interest and they get encouraged by it. Mm-hmm.
All right, Angela, that one that I just highlighted, go ahead.
Okay. Keisha, which mentors influenced you most throughout your career? Not just dentists.
No. So the person I'm in private practice with, Don Galovich, he's the chiropractor. He and I can't even tell you how much I've learned about the body from him, the nervous system from him, you name it, I've learned it from him. Functional medicine, supplementation, craniosacral therapy. I mean, everything. This guy is a wealth of knowledge, and we've become very good friends, and we work together every day. So we lunch together. We just learn everything together. So he has been amazing. And then Christine Mills was a great mentor to me too, as well. And I started because she was, my tribe. That's who I had here in Michigan. So that was awesome. Becky Ellsworth was another great person. She was a hygienist as well as a orofacial myologist, and really, really supportive in my early journey as well. And then, Dr. Kale, obviously he's next door here, but he really helped me understand like women's health postpartum. So since I'm a speech pathologist, I can treat the under birth through 4, where I know that can get a little bit trickier, I think, with the hygiene field and whatnot. But so he really helped me just understand that mother baby dyad, and that encouraged me. So right now I'm going, I'm spending the whole weekend doing a CLC class so I can become a certified lactation consultant, which will then lead maybe to, I don't know where it's going to lead, maybe IBCLC or what that, but it's just craniosacral therapist. I mean, I have 2 right here in my office, as well as functional medicine. So just that whole body approach to everything. So yeah, they're my mentors. They're my tribe for sure.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Becky Ellsworth has been a plethora of information for me as well.
Yeah. Wonderful woman.
Robin said that she just got your course. Yeah, she signed up for March.
Hey, Robin, I saw that. Thank you. I do want
to say, I know that there's a lot of, I'm so controversial sometimes, but I'm going to say it. Yeah. I know there's a lot of talk about hygienists not being able to see younger than 5. I choose not to, just because I can't handle them right now. I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I used to see 1-year-olds at the dental office. Mm-hmm. I used to see young kids. Like, why can I not see them now? Like, that's just what kind of, I'm just want to throw that out there, because I was like, well, we are, as soon as they start an oral habit, hygienists can see them. we ask parents to bring their kids to the dental office before they are 1, so we can, of course, introduce them to the office, and we can start talking about, bottles, pacifiers, oral habit, anything that might be going on. So I wanted to throw that out there. I was just kind of confused when I started thinking about that. I was like, why can I not see them?
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of the feeding aspect of it when it comes
we do, my functional therapy is not feeding though. And that's what people really need to make sure that they understand the difference.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's a big one. Would you, since we got there, would you explain to us what is the difference of a feeding therapist and doing feeding in myofunctional therapy whenever we have patients eat, I should say?
Are you talking the birth to 4 population?
Or just in general, whenever, but let's talk about the young ones. Whenever we have a patient eat during myofunctional therapy appointment, because we use food all the time.
Yeah,
that is not considered feeding therapy. How is that different from feeding therapy?
So for the 4 and up population, when you're doing that, you're really only focusing on the oral prep phase and the oral phase of the swallow. For those little ones, 4 and under, who can't follow, the step-by-step directions and how to, where to put the food, transfer the bolus, that type of thing. It really becomes more feeding-based therapy that's specific training for a speech pathologist, and a lot of occupational therapists in our area have that as well. And it's not even something, I even took a ton more training. So I got training in that as a, with your graduate school and some of my externships and stuff, but it's something that I've spent a ton of time and money on getting extra CEUs for, to learn that, because that is a completely different ball game when it comes to infants. A completely different ball game.
Now that you say that,
you're using like myo eyes on it, but you're not really using myo, if that makes sense. Okay. Now
it makes sense. Now that you say that, to me, makes sense why people say that we shouldn't be. So I have a 2-year-old, and obviously I do a lot of, he sees me work, and I do some stuff with a 2-year-old, and he just learned how to suction the other day, and he learned how to do TikToks. Like, he's literally going,
oh, I think I saw you post.
And I was like, are you serious? And it's funny because I had a patient on the computer that was probably like 7 years old, and he couldn't do it. And then the 2-year-old sitting on my lap was doing it perfectly. And I was like, oh, I can't believe he can do it. So if I were to see younger patients, if I chose to see younger patients, of course I would have to be in person, but I would never get to that point where I'm doing food. I would just do clicks. I would just do, like silly stuff, blow bubbles, blowing stuff. I mean, I would never get to the point of even trying to do anything with bolus formation, because there's just no way.
Yeah, that's when you would refer to it. And even when you're referring to a speech pathologist, you want to make sure it's someone who specializes in feeding therapy, because, we've all had in courses, but we don't all specialize, if that makes sense. So it takes a lot of extra training to be an expert in that area.
So do every child with a myofunctional disorder also has a feeding issue?
So I guess you could say more, I wouldn't say every, but more of a tongue thrust.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. But some of our babies are having more issues than that. So it's more than just that tongue thrust swallow. They're born with the tongue thrust swallow. They develop by their swallow based on the types of foods they're given and the experiences that they have with oral play and that type of thing. So they're developing that through, their first 3 years of life, right?
Yeah.
And it can be very you can make the feeding disorder, I could say, more compromised, I guess, if you're not skilled in this area. So it's definitely takes a high level of skill. And Robin Merkel Walsh did an excellent job writing that birth to 4 years old, and just explaining those differences. I encourage anyone to read that if you're questioning, whether or not that's in your scope. But I always say, just refer out, until you have that training. And I even did that for a while until I felt like, okay, this is something I can definitely handle here in the office. Cause I see it. I mean, I'm a pediatric practice for speech pathology. That's what we do. We're a peds practice here. So we see a ton of peds, but even for some of if it was feeding related and I felt like I didn't have the skill, I just humbled myself and I said, this is something I'm still learning, but I work with this amazing group over here. And it was an occupational therapist who happened to be the person. And she's been a great mentor to me as well, and helped me along that journey. So
Amazing. And I also am huge about telling people to make sure that you're referring to an IBCLC. If this
For sure.
patient, if it's a baby under 1 and they're nursing or about bottle feeding, there's so many IBCLCs out there. You don't have to, the baby doesn't have to be nursing, breastfeeding. It could be just bottle feeding. They can still help you because they are specialized in that. Those early years. So super important for us to
and
really,
it's not uncommon for me to work with an IBCLC within my practice
exactly.
and they'll come in and we'll do a co-treat or something like that. It's not uncommon at all.
Exactly, because they would not be working on feeding.
Right. On
food, on regular food.
No, right. I'm right. I saw what you're saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for all of us to work together, guys. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
So as a speech pathologist, how did you get involved in teaching orthodontic students about OMDs?
Oh, yeah. So my mentor, Christine Mills, actually held that position forever. When she retired and moved out of Michigan, she recommended me for the position. So it's one of the things I absolutely love doing. It's it is the only school in the Michigan area that has an orofacial myofunctional program, and they've had it for years. So they've recently moved my semester to the first semester that they're there, which I absolutely love, because now it really helps them to implement with their patients some of the things that they've learned from the course, which the class that I teach, which is great because I stay in touch with them and they share patients with me, and then I help them through cases. So it's really fun to see that, oh, you're not going to use the habit breaking appliance because of what you've learned. Let's get you to an ENT. Let's check out the airway. Let's look at these things. And the orthodontic school, it's awesome. They have a CBCT. These residents are highly trained. And so they are really thorough with the airway piece, but they just really never knew what to do with it. So it's been really fun educating them too, as well as like, how do you really use this stuff that you're getting? You have so much information here. Now let's use it to help make referrals. So it's so fun.
That is incredible. We have another message from Kyle. I'm an RDH and myofunctional therapist. I do sealants in the schools. To date, as always, I see a ton of myofunctional disorders. I'm so frustrated that we don't have myo as a standard of care in the schools. Any thoughts?
Right. I know it's a struggle here. And honestly, one of the reasons I ended up transitioning into private practice after, there's so many things that if they're not educationally relevant, and they're not and if the disorder is not having an educational impact, it's not something that they're allowed to treat. So I found myself doing things like all the time recommending evaluations outside, and my supervisor telling me, oh, you're putting the district at risk. And I'm like, well,
how about with the child's?
Yeah, but this is about the kid. I mean, he can't breathe, and that type of thing. So I became pretty savvy at it, but I also got my hands slapped a few times too. It's always about the kids.
That is awful, though. I did see somebody recently also on one of the Facebook groups, saying that they're seeing these things on a child, but they can't refer because otherwise the school is responsible. There's so many issues right now with, we're so far behind. And then, they're telling us that Pop-Tarts are a healthy option for breakfast in school. I just don't get it. There's so much wrong in this world, my Lord. Angela, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I find I'm very fortunate, and I know a lot of other hygienists are very fortunate who, know how to use their I Spy for the Myo Eye to be able to see certain things. And a lot of us are very fortunate who work for dentists who allow us to say something to the patient. And even if there's nothing that we can do in the office itself, at least we have the knowledge on where to refer them to. And so for those hygienists and those others who work in an office or private practice or somewhere, who, if the things that teach them. Ask permission, from your dentist. What are they going to say? No. I mean, but they might say yes. And, help them learn these things. The scalloped border of their tongue, the high narrow palate. These are all of the clinical signs that we can see in the dental office. We just need to start expressing. Maybe you can start looking around in your area, look up myofunctional therapists or just see who the closest one is near you. And there are so many myofunctional therapists who do therapy online as well.
Right.
So you go to the Airway Circle membership page and you look up there, and it's just all about asking, and it's all about collaborating, and it's all about helping. And so what are we in this field for, right? To help others. So really just getting together and opening your mouth and being able to share your knowledge. But I do have a question. What can the Airway community do to make mentoring more accessible to multidisciplinary professionals?
To mentor, oh, that's a great question. So what can the Airway, your Airway community, or in general?
In general.
Yeah, I think the Airway community in general. What is it that we can do multidisciplinary? What is it that we can do in the community to make mentoring more accessible?
Well, obviously what you're
doing.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. What we're doing
is so amazing. It is. And if you're thinking like locally, a small group, again, I think it's like study groups. It's like just getting together and having those study groups like we had. I think it was called the Midwest something study group that we had, and we would just meet, like I said, every 3 or 4 months. But what I've learned is that having this type of thing, like we didn't do Zoom back then when we started this, right? Like how amazing is that, just to get on with some local providers and have a Zoom call and just mentor each other through this, or just have, discuss cases. And that's how you build friendships. You could be like, oh, I really like Angela's, the way she thinks. She's really thorough. She does this when you're on a call like this, right? And then you can be like, I'm going to send her a private message, or I'm going to reach out to her and see if she wants to go to lunch, those types of things.
I was saying I work at a FQHC and I'm not allowed to talk about it unless I find resources that take Medicaid. We are so far behind in this stuff, and there's so many children getting missed. That's why it's so important for dental hygienists and dentists, like Keisha was saying, to screen these patients, because even though they're going to school and speech pathologists are seeing this, they can't do anything. They can't say anything. They can send them anywhere. And I cannot even imagine how that feels. So, and I was going to say something else about the mentorship, since we're talking about the mentorship. Anybody here can be a mentor. If you think you cannot be a mentor to somebody else, you are wrong. Yeah. Because there are so many levels of learning. So for example, if I am on a level 5 right now of, whatever that means, I can teach everybody else that's on level 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have something that I can teach them. I can be a mentor somehow, a dental hygienist that's not in myofunctional therapy yet. I know a little bit more. I can teach her something. But now Keisha can be a great mentor to me because she has so much more experience, and you know what I mean? So everybody in this call right now, not only you can find a mentor in somebody else, but you can be a mentor yourself. So make sure that you are also giving that out to somebody. It's so important for us to pay back.
Yeah. And my goal of being a mentor is to make those I mentor better than me. I mean, that's true success right there, in my opinion. Like, go be a rock star. Okay, great. And I'm just going to cheer you on back here.
Definitely. That is the true definition of prosperity. You do not prosper unless the ones around you are also prospering because you've helped.
So true.
So let's all do it. People don't realize that when I do something right here to teach and to grow, help somebody grow, I'm helping somebody all the way out there in the other side of the country that's also doing myofunctional therapy. Kelsey has a question. Can you discuss ortho tongue thrust reminders? When to ask ortho to remove for myo? What do you mean, Kelsey? When to ask to remove what? The tongue thrust appliance?
I think she might mean like a tongue tamer. That's what I'm thinking. Some type of punitive appliance so that you can.
So like the little cribs and the stuff to poke the tongue.
Or appliance. Yeah. So the question is when
do you ask to remove?
Maybe the lingual bar.
The little thing that has the little balls up there that the tongue plays with. Always. Yeah, she says yes, and thank you. Always remove it all. Is that ever good to have that appliance in the mouth?
No. You're not addressing the real root of the problem, which, at that point, You're not addressing rest posture. You're not addressing airway. You're not addressing, well, what I teach, the trigger of the problem. You're not looking at that. So there's just so many factors that go into these behavior, these noxious behaviors, that you're not addressing pretty much any of those. And it's a very negative experience. And I prefer to have more of a positive experience when people go through all of this, right? We use operant conditioning to help with those learned behaviors.
Okay, another question. How do you approach the orthodontist? I would ask the parent, please tell the orthodontist that you want it out. They're not going to say anything.
Sometimes I'll make a phone call and I'll just have a conversation with them. Tell me more about this appliance and what you're hoping to achieve. If you use tell me more or why, it doesn't feel threatening to them. And then say, okay, great. And, I just want you to know from my perspective, this is what my goals are trying. So do you think, can we work together on this? I had one patient when we first started that the dentist the orthodontist referred to me. He had been in a habit breaking appliance for 3 months and then referred to me because the tongue thruster wasn't gone, right? The child was still tongue thrusting. And the mother was very frustrated because she said, he just finds a way around this. His tongue just figures out a way to go around the appliance. So, I'm like, oh, I'm not really good at calling people and telling them like, don't do this. This is their treatment plan, right? But we have to educate. And the dentist was so gracious. He said, well, I referred to you because I need help. And and then he just came out when I told him, he said, well, how do you go through this? I explained my program. And he said, so it sounds like it'd be better if I remove this. It sounds like you could probably accomplish your goals. But they came to that realization on their own. I didn't just call and say, hey, can you remove this? Because this is a really bad appliance.
Exactly. It made a huge difference that he referred to you. Exactly. Most people are putting those appliances over there, don't even know we exist.
But again, I am not afraid to make the phone call. If it's your first time, I suggest you write down a few talking points. So if you get thrown off your game, you can use those to get back on point. And you're just going to be kind and you're having a conversation. You're there to educate. And if they say, no, I'm not taking it out, then they're not taking it out. And you're going to have to, try again or have another conversation. But yeah, it can be sticky.
Awesome. We have one more question from a mom that Angela has. And I think Ann also has something.
Okay.
Ann, do you want to go?
I was just going to comment actually on what we were talking about with the habit breaking appliances. I actually spoke to the orthodontist who's working with a patient that I'm treating. It seemed that one of the orthodontists who had started the case left the practice, so this orthodontist took over. And this patient has a tongue thrust. I believe he's going to need a frenectomy at some point just based on how treatment is going. But, the orthodontist said to me, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had very much success in the past with patients who've been seen for myofunctional therapy. So, I tend to consider tongue tamers because the brain, starts to create the circuitry where the tongue is not thrusting anymore because of that, that punitive conditioning that they're getting. And I said, that may be so, but the tongue thrust really is a symptom, right. And so we have to think a little bit larger than that. What is the reason for the tongue thrust? And what was interesting was I didn't feel like I had to argue my point, but he was interested enough to not shut the door on me, I guess, just in listening. And I think I just wanted to share the message that all you need is a provider to be willing to be receptive. They don't have to take your side. They don't have to believe everything that you say, but if they're willing to listen, I think it could be the start of something great. So that was my piece for today. Thanks.
Kelsey said that's exactly what his orthodontist said too, Anne.
Oh,
same response that she got.
Interesting. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
It is very interesting because they may actually understand that you know more about something and that you are able to teach them, and they are very receptive. I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Do we have an orthodontist on the call? Does anybody want to lift their hand up? If there's any orthodontist in the Zoom, I know that Facebook cannot see us, but or cannot join us over here. But if there's any orthodontist here, please come forward. We want to hear from you.
Please
go ahead, Angela. Please stand up.
Okay, so Keisha and anybody, I guess, that could respond to this, but I received an email this afternoon and I have not responded yet. I just haven't had a moment. My daughter is 2 and will be 3 in April. She is currently in speech and doing amazing. She had a small tongue tie and we had clipped it when she was 1 month old. However, we have recently discovered she still has a tongue tie that is a deep muscular tongue tie. Her speech therapist said you might be able to help, but wasn't sure if she was too young. We would love to avoid surgery. It is affecting her moving her tongue. She has a lot of tension in neck and it seems like her tongue will lock up when she is trying to talk. I look forward to hearing from you. These are the emails that I received, things like this.
Of young ones.
Yeah, all these young ones.
So
Now,
she sounds like she's an older 3-year-old. Is that what it said? She's 3?
she's turning 3 in April, it looks like.
Oh, 3, yeah.
Yeah. How would you respond to something like that?
Well, I would say, yeah, bring her in because I'm going to treat it from a more of a feeding perspective, most likely, and try to get the tongue moving there because she's going to have a hard time following her oral direction. So I would do a lot of feeding based therapy to help with that.
Well, I
So not really any myo.
It's hard to do a lot of myo when they can't follow oral directions and, in the sequence. Now she might be able to. I don't know what this 2-year-old looks like. If she can, it's like, feeding with a twist of myo, I guess sometimes you'll hear them say, where you can kind of bring some of that in. But I would be doing a very thorough evaluation of that and determining, and most of my treatment would look very feeding based for that, the first child.
Well, so then would you recommend, because I'm a hygienist and I don't do a whole lot of feeding, I don't do any feeding per se, I just work on sometimes with swallowing, because the SLP she had said to get in touch with a myofunctional therapist, and where would I go with something like that?
Yeah. Refer to another SLP and take the business away from her.
Say it again.
I know, refer to an SLP who does feeding.
Well, right.
Or like that, but then you're taking that, patient from her.
Right. So here's how I have been considering responding, and I'm planning to respond after we get off this call. But the way that I'm planning to respond to this is that I will send her a message saying, I would like to speak to your speech and language pathologist. May I have her contact information, or here's my information. Please give it to her. I would like to touch base and find out what her concerns are, mostly after, what you have told me. I would like to hear more of what she has researched. So that's where I would go to start. And then before I even try to see her, now I am also similar to you, Keisha, and I have been wanting to take a certified lactation consultant course. I'm starting with Breathe Babies with the Breathe Institute with Dr. Chelsea Pinto.
Oh yeah,
I'm doing that in a couple of weekends. And oh my gosh, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Yay!
I'm really excited for it. That will be the first step in doing this. So when you said that, I was really excited. And of course, all I thought about, Renata, was Chelsea, our Chelsea.
I know, she's wonderful.
Chelsea Hackman. Yeah, she is.
So Chelsea Madison.
Oh, Madison. Okay.
Yeah, owns the Breathewell group, and she's in.
Yeah, I know her too. Yeah.
She's so good. She's so good with babies.
Yeah.
And even though she's a dental hygienist, she's not doing feeding on babies, but she has a lactation consultant. And I think is she getting her IBCLC?
She's going to work towards that.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
It might be a good plethora of information for you to knock on her door, Keisha.
Yeah, I do know her too. So yeah.
Mary Angela is saying feeding specialist, myo later, and craniosacral, and then the release. Absolutely. So wait until this child is 4 or 5 so they can do myofunctional therapy. A lot of people ask me that. Should we just wait to release the tongue?
A feeding specialist is going to be somebody trained in feeding. And this therapist she just might not understand. So I get a lot of emails or phone calls to our office here wanting me to do orofacial myofunctional therapy in a 4-month-old. We don't do oral, and they're hearing this and it's just misinformation. They're hearing this in Facebook groups and they're desperate for the help of their child. And they think that orofacial myology is what they need because they're having a tongue tie release. And And they kind of bring those together, tongue tie and orofacial myology. So I've spent, typically when those come in, I do a phone consultation, like you're saying, Angela, and I'll just have a conversation and I'll educate, because again, it's education, and I'll decide whether or not it's something that, I can help with. But now that I've gotten all this extra training, it is. Early on, it was not something I felt comfortable with. I was really not an expert in eating like I am now. And you have to educate them, because they think that they need that. They don't really understand what orofacial myofunctional therapy is. And what they really need at that age, at 2 months old, is a feeding specialist and an IBCLC, if that's their goal, is to breastfeed or to,
When I wanted to get my son's lip tie and tongue tie released, I got recommended Beckham. Said we were not going to see him until he has some Beckham, however you say that.
Beckman oral motor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's another training that speech pathologists can get as well. We have some of our girls here are trained in that as well.
But that's a question that we get all the time. So if myofunctional therapy cannot be done in children younger than 4 or so, and these kids do need a release, what is the therapy? So everybody needs feeding therapy if they need a tongue tie release?
Under 4.
Mm-hmm.
Those birthed in 1-year-old ages is a
Is
little
that
bit
where I should refer these patients, either an OT or an SLP who does feeding, or an IBCLC for tongue tie release?
has that oral care, like Dr.
Pre-op and post-op?
Dr. Pinto has a really good post-op care for infants. Overland and Robin Merkel Walsh have, Lori Overland and Walker, they have a really good one too for infants as well. And it's the oral care and teaching that tongue how to function after that release. So it's not just the stretches, it's actually teaching the tongue how to function.
All right, so there you go. Now we know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
And those
Well,
are just good resources for you. I mean, I go to them all the time. They're even though I, never mentored with all of them personally, I read and reread, and I have, tabs in my books and
Yeah, because it is a question that I know everybody here gets this question. I mean, we get same thing messages every day. Or my child needs to see you, they need a tongue tie release, and they're 1 or they're 2. What do I do? They're mouth breathing and they're 6 months old.
Yeah.
The only complaint is mouth breathing. What do you do? Who do you see if you can't do myofunctional therapy?
Right.
It's something that we need to kind of share.
Yeah.
Gillian is saying there are also sensory motor approaches, such as the one coined by Talk Tools, that speech language pathologists can get training in to help little ones with orofacial function in feeding and in speech. It's much more hands-on, and it's lots of engaging therapy tools that the parents can utilize at home. They work with kids with TOTS as well. That is fantastic.
Yeah, and that whole book is written by Lori Overland and Robert Merkelwatch. That's the book I have. Like
Yes, I have it here somewhere.
The sensory motor approach. Yeah.
Last messages. Mary Angela said, it depends on when the child is ready for the release. It is so different for every child. Kendra is saying, find if early intervention SLP, county birth 3, or school-based VA kids can start public school speech at 2 or wait until 3 years. I think there's some wrong words in here. Yes, I agree. SLP with specialized feeding training, CST, then later if needed after 4 years old age, Maya.
Yeah.
Awesome. There you go, guys. This was such a fun, laid back talk. Like we're all in the same room, all friends. Mouth breathing babies can be corrected. Doris, who should we send them to, Doris? For mouth breathing in babies. We'll keep that on the messages.
We're going to send them to a Bateko breathing educator.
Awesome. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
I was trained in how to help babies even help them to nose breathe correctly. So those are the people who are going to know.
Yeah.
Perfect. So somebody who has training in that. Perfect. It's the little ones. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, this was so much fun and laid back. Usually we're all serious over here. So this was good to just chat. Thank you so much, Keisha, for accepting our invitation. Anybody that would like to take your course in March, what do they do?
masteringmyo.com. You can register for the March course or join the waiting list for future courses this year.
Ta-da! All righty, guys. What do we have going on, Angela?
Next week, we have Dr. Steve Karstensen on Zoom. Don't forget to meet us back here at 8 p.m. next week. And then the week after that, Renata, a big one. Everyone is big. We love everybody.
But the next week is one of my favorite people in the world. I cannot even believe this person's coming to talk to us. And should I say his name? His name got mentioned in this talk tonight. I'm just going to say.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes. I love this person. I love this person. And I cannot even believe he said yes. But anyways, I'm not gonna say who it is. You're gonna have to find out.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm putting my money on him.
Do we have Instagram? When is Instagram?
We do on Tuesday, the 15th. So not next week, but the week after, the 15th, we have Mary Frances Gonzalez, and she's a speech and language pathologist as well. And she lives here in Virginia, and she's a friend of mine too.
Yes.
Awesome. So we're going to do that Instagram. So Tuesdays, guys, I know that I took off Clubhouses. Sometimes I'll still do a couple things on Clubhouse, but on Tuesdays, we're going to do sometimes Instagram, sometimes circle time, and the other times I'm releasing the podcast on Tuesday. So I'll still play them live over here so we can hang out and have a watching party. But that's what's going on right now. If you guys have any questions, please join our Facebook group. You can really find your tribe in there, ask questions, find your network, whoever, and visit our website. Make sure you are in the directory. We're sending people to the directory every single day to find providers. And we have our shop with our cool t-shirts and brochures and all this stuff in our website. You can use Happy One for 15% off in our store. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And thank you, Keisha. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye, guys.